Once upon a time, in a tranquil village, there lived a modest farmer and his only son. Although they were not wealthy, they found happiness in their simple life. They owned a small parcel of land where they cultivated crops, and most importantly, they had a strong, beautiful horse that assisted with the farm work. However, one day, disaster struck. The farmer awoke to discover that their only horse had broken through the fence and fled into the hills. The horse was their most valuable asset. Without it, plowing the fields and transporting goods would be nearly impossible. The farmer's son was devastated, fearing the implications for their future. When the neighbors learned of this misfortune, they came to express their sympathy. "What terrible luck you have encountered," they said, shaking their heads. "Losing your only horse is a significant hardship." Yet the farmer, known for his calm and wise demeanor, simply smiled and replied, "Maybe." The villagers were perplexed. How could he remain so composed? Even the son struggled to understand his father's reaction. A week passed, and the farmer and his son labored without the horse, performing all the hard work by hand while the villagers continued to pity them. Then one morning, something unexpected occurred. The farmer's son noticed movement in the distance. At first, he thought he was imagining things, but as the figures approached, he gasped in astonishment. Their horse had returned, accompanied by a wild stallion, a strong and magnificent creature. Overjoyed, the son rushed to his father. "Father, our horse is back, and it has brought another one." The villagers gathered, astonished. "What incredible luck!" they exclaimed. "Now you have two horses instead of one. You are luckier than ever." However, the farmer, as composed as always, merely smiled and said, "Maybe." Once again, the villagers were confused. How could he not be thrilled by this remarkable turn of events? A few days later, the farmer's son decided to tame the wild stallion. Eager to transform this gift into something beneficial for their farm, he dedicated hours to training the horse, determined to succeed. However, the stallion was strong-willed and challenging to control. One afternoon, while attempting to ride it, the son was thrown off and crashed to the ground, sustaining a painful leg injury. Hearing his cries, the farmer rushed to his side, and soon the villagers gathered, shaking their heads. "What a terrible tragedy," they lamented. "Now your son is injured. He will be unable to assist on the farm for months. Just when things were looking up, this occurs. Such bad luck." The farmer, tending to his son's injury, simply replied, "Maybe." Once again, the villagers were bewildered. How could he remain so calm in the face of his son's injury? Weeks passed, and the farmer's son remained bedridden, slowly recovering. The villagers continued to feel sorry for the farmer, believing he had experienced great misfortune. Then one day, soldiers rode into the village due to unrest in the kingdom, and the army was drafting all able-bodied young men for war. The villagers were terrified as their sons were taken away to fight in a distant and perilous battle, leaving families weeping as they watched their loved ones depart, uncertain of their return. When the soldiers arrived at the farmer's house, they observed the son's broken leg and declared him unfit for service. He was spared from the horrors of war. The villagers now looked at the farmer in awe. "What incredible luck," they said. "Because of his injury, your son is safe, while ours are being sent off to war. Truly, everything happens for a reason." The farmer listened to their words, smiled softly, and replied, "Maybe." By this time, the villagers began to understand that the farmer perceived the world differently. He did not hastily label events as good or bad. Instead, he accepted life as it unfolded, recognizing that fortune and misfortune were often two sides of the same coin. Over time, his wisdom spread throughout the village. People ceased reacting to every event with panic or excitement and learned to embrace life's ups and downs with patience and acceptance. The story of the wise farmer and his simple word, "maybe," became a lasting lesson for all who heard it. It taught them that life is filled with twists and turns, and sometimes what appears to be misfortune can lead to unexpected blessings. Thus, they learned to trust the journey, live with open hearts, and understand that everything happens in its own time and for its own reason.